Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my new video on how to defeat Urgot. My name is Lolfit, I do educational content, and this is a really important subject to me because I am an Urgot player. I mained him most of the season. I was able to get Diamond for the first time as a solo laner as opposed to my regular role as support. I have about 300 games on him, mostly played in the mid lane and a bit on top lane. I was kind of a bit ahead of all the pro play and people taking a shitload of Urgot. As you can see from my OPGG, if you're curious, I think I ended at around a 60% win rate, and I was able to climb to this place that I haven't really been to before. So I'm going to go over a couple different sections on how you can defeat Urgot. We're going to go over champion select. We're going to go over how to approach him in laning phase. We're going to go over how to approach him in team fights. And then we're going to go over how to approach when Urgot is fed. What should you do now? The reason why I wanted to do this video is because first up, I wanted to help out the Urgot mains in the community that are seeing their main getting picked away from them a lot, because I fucking hate seeing my main played against me. So I wanted to help you guys out with this video, and then also I wanted to help out just the general populace and people that think Urgot is this overpowered crazy mess that just needs a bunch of nerfs, because I really think that the reason why he's such a standout right now is because people really don't understand his kit and they lack the experience to play against him. As compared to something like a Malphite that everyone knows above Silver Elo what they do, a lot of people just have no idea what Urgot does. So those are my reasons for this. Please don't flame me because I know there's a lot of other Urgot players out here, but that's my reasoning. And again, if you guys have any pointers that you found is really good against Urgot or particular picks, please let me know in the description down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it as well. But I feel like I have a great understanding of it just because, as I said, I had 300 games played, mostly mid-Urgot over the season, and we're going to just take a look. This is mid-Urgot, and this is just my general stats. If you're curious about just my play, I'm obviously not the best mechanical player, but I feel like I'm able to climb to Diamond just off game knowledge, and that is why I release guides and these type of videos and tip videos to help you climb as well, because a lot of you guys in low elo have better mechanics than me but just don't really have the same game knowledge and decision making. And another kind of funny thing I wanted to show you guys with the stats is I'm actually considered one of the experts of Urgot mid just because I have so many games played in ranked, and I'm the highest ranked one. I think the other one's just a platinum player. And yeah, that will wrap up this section. I'm also going to put timestamps down below if you want to skip around to the champion select, if you just want to skip to how to approach them in lane phase, or team fights, or Urgot's fed, what should I do now? Those are going to be the different sections, and they'll be marked in the description, as well as I'll put my Discord if you want to contact me directly. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Alright, let's just jump into the first section and what you should be looking for when you are approaching a Urgot in lane and you have the ability to counterpick, or if you see that Urgot wasn't banned and it is likely to be played in your game. These are a couple of things I think that you should just keep in mind when you are looking to go against him in the top lane. Kind of the indisputable counter to him, if you're just looking to just kind of roll him in lane, Yorick is an amazing pick. First up, it's really hard for him to manage his lock-on of his W Purge with his minions, and then also he has such a great amount of sustained damage and a little bit of sustain that he's able to out-trade the Urgot. And really, this is the only lane that I kind of struggle a little bit with. Outside of Aatrox that you just outscale to a huge degree, Yorick is something that can keep up with you in scaling, and you probably have certain item spikes that you're able to take advantage and win all-ins with the Yorick, but these are very few and far between. I would say that you have about 90% of the time Yorick is going to be able to beat you in the 1v1, but on particular item spikes, you are going to really be able to take the fight to the Yorick, but you will get split pushed a lot against. The key for the Urgot players out there is to team fight and force the Yorick into team fights, because he wants to split push. You're going to be a lot more effective in team fights, so that's how you want to take advantage of him. So let's just get that out of the way. If you want just a straight up counter pick to him in the top lane, just take Yorick, or if you're very good at closing out games early, Aatrox can bully him a bit in the early game. And a little bit of the mid game, but once two items come around, Aatrox gets outscaled quite a bit if you haven't just put him in the dumpster with CS. So let's go into the mid lane now. What you really don't want to do against fucking Urgot, there we go. Against Urgot, you do not want to take a bursty champion, and you do not want to take a melee bursty champion. The reason why I actually had the idea to start playing Urgot mid is, first of all, I played a shitload. I just played him all the time in the top lane, but I started seeing these assassins in the mid lane that I felt I could take advantage of. I think I had one game where I played against a Zed top lane. I'm like, wait, this is the easiest fucking lane of my life. So I just started bringing Urgot down as a special pocket pick against a Fizz, against a Zed, against Talon. Anything that's a melee bursty assassin is going to have a really hard time with Urgot. The one exception might be Zed, but this has a caveat of being a very talented Zed that can use his shadows to first up dodge your E with his W and then dodge your alt with his R. There's obviously a couple counterplays to it, but a really well played Zed is going to have a decent chance against you. But besides that, what you're looking for in the mid lane is you're looking for a ranged, consistent damage champion. You do not want something like Syndra that is just reliant on burst. You want something like Orianna. You want something like Cassiopeia. You want something that can continuously pump out damage and doesn't really care too much about a shield. Another big thing, do not take a Kali into Urgot. That is my absolute favorite matchup. Yeah, so please stay away from Akali. So just keep this in mind when you are approaching him in the mid and top, but when you are looking for things in the other lanes where you're not really directly approaching him, what you want to do is, Urgot is a high HP, low resistance tank. So what we want to do is we want to attack him with things like Vayne. We want to attack him with things like Kai'Sa, things that do percentage health damage. There's a couple things out of the jungle. For example, things like Poppy are very effective against the Urgot. If you see that in your jungle player and you like Poppy at all, she is a pretty... she's not a good counter in lane to him, but she's a very good counter in team fights because she stops the E dash. She's able to do percentage health damage, which is another big thing. She has high resistances. She's able to just kind of stand in the front and bodyguard Urgot away from other people, and generally is going to be more tanky than Urgot in the late game. So Poppy is a great pick into her. So yeah, just keep in mind consistent damage dealers that have percentage health damage as an amplifier is really nice, and things like Malzahar are going to be great because there's a lot of consistent damage with Void Lane's E, and you're able to suppress him as well. So those are my thoughts on the kind of champions you want to approach Urgot with. I'd love to hear if you guys have any counters if you're a bit higher elo, because I know that when you're going around and things in like bronze, silver, and gold, the matchups don't really matter too much. It has to do a lot more with the players. There's not really counter picks too much in the lower elos. So let me know what you guys think down below. That will wrap up the champion select section. Alright, and let's jump right into the laning phase. A couple things I wanted to cover with you guys on how to approach him. During this particular time of the game, I just want to give you some base knowledge, because a lot of people probably haven't played against or played it as themselves. So these are just the ranges that you really want to get used to. The Q range is about that. The E dash range is about that. And the R range is going to be an extremely long range with that finisher alt. And I'm going to go over the basic combo and what Urgots do to try and get you in lane and get those really strong all-ins. Generally, what they all-in is doing is they're just going to be looking to just be CSing, say they're CSing these waves, and then they're going to look to slow you with the Q, flip you with the E when you're in that slowed state, and then W purge you down. And this is a really strong trade, and that's going to be just the most basic trade you're going to see a lot in the laning phase. Next up, I want to talk about the E, because it is a very deceptive range. It is, see how the reticule goes about right here? It doesn't look like it's going to land. It's not even covering like a red outline on the target. If you E there, it doesn't end where the point is. It ends where the body of Urgot ends. So if he has any sort of collision while he's in this E dash, he's going to hit you. So he's probably not going to hit you from, let's say, right here. Well, he hits you from right there, so that's still... I mean, this range is extremely deceptive. Probably won't hit you from there, right? Oh, he's going to still hit you from there. Wow. So, with how chunky Urgot is, it really lengthens the E by quite a bit. So, he has to be this far away to not land the E on you. So, just kind of get used to that sphere of control that he has. Next up, a couple tells. What you really want to do against Urgot is move from side to side, never go front to back, or never go just run backwards when you are chasing him, because first up his E skill shot is going to be going that way, it's going to be covering that line, and then his R is going to be just be thrown behind you. So what you want to do is kite from left to right, because that's just how his skill shots come out. Next up, another thing you can look at in laning phase is you can look for audio cues when he's looking to E. You're going to hear a lurching sound before when he's casting his E right now. if you get used to listening for that E sound, you're going to know right when he is looking to do it. Also, there's a bit of an animation on the character, so look for that E, and that is really when he's looking to all-in you and do as much damage as possible. You should consider this something similar. When you hear that E sound, this should put you in the same state you would want to be in after you see a Z throwing out a W shadow, because that's how much threat it represents. Next up, after the E, we have the R. When you are throwing out your R, there's a little bit of a cast time, unless you're... There's a couple ways to hide it, but most people won't. You're going to have a charge up. He's going to go really bright. It's different with a couple different skins. So what you want to do is just look for this kind of wind-up he has, and you want to be moving left to right. Right when he's doing that wind-up, look to move laterally and don't look to move just kind of in a straight line, because that is the easiest way for him to catch you. So outside of the E lurch and the R cast time, those are the two things you should be looking out for. Next up is the W. When he Ws, he slows himself by a bit, and he's going to be actually locked on to a minion. He has to hit you with a spell for him to lock onto you. He doesn't have control outside of that on when to what to lock on with his W. So look to abuse him when he's locked on to a minion. Look to attack him with spells or auto attacks, and a couple different things you can do to abuse that W. And next up, a lot of low elo Urgots are going to do very poor Qs. You're going to know. So the Q in general is pretty difficult to dodge because it has a super quick explode time. But what you want to do is stay at about his max Q range, which is about that. And when he looks to run at you and throw your Q down, you just want to be looking to run out of this circle. So when he's looking to run at you, you should be just tethering him back and be going back towards your tower when he's looking to throw that. And you should just look to bait it at max range and then look to abuse him afterwards, because it is a generally longer cooldown at the start. It does have a lot of early poke damage and high base damages in the early levels, so you cannot take Q spam. And that's kind of how to approach him in lane. Also, you need to be wary of Ignite. A lot of people are going to be taking Ignite with the Unsealed Spellbook. Seems to be the most common combo that people are using right now. So he does have a lot of all-in potential. And that will wrap up how to approach Urgot in the laning phase. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the team fighting phase and what you need to do and how to approach him during the team fighting phase. Generally, if they are smart Urgot players, they will get a bit of burst reduction with the Gargoyle Stoneplate. That seems to be one of the most meta abilities. That also increases your W health with the increased health you get, and it also does not reduce the damage on your true damage of your ult, so that is why it is a decent combo right now. And first rule, Urgot excels very heavily in 1v1 situations, and he also excels when he has allied teammates to help him with the burst to get you to that lower HP threshold. So the last thing you want to do when you're a tank or you're a bruiser is charge into the enemy team when they have an Urgot and just have the Urgot peel for those carries. This is going to put you in a really rough situation where first you're going to get slowed and you're going to get bursted out pretty quickly with his ult, because once you reach a certain threshold below 25%, you will get executed. So your two goals are, first up, you do not want to get in an isolated situation. Second up, you need to group up, and you really do not want to be around you really want to be around your teammates for a couple of reasons. First up, you want to be able to block his ult. Say there's a squishy behind him and he's damaging the enemy behind him. He can't throw his ult through the person in front, so always look to block Urgot ults when you see him trying to focus out a particular enemy. Also look to attack his inability to cover distances in a quick pace. You can kite him out pretty well if you are a quick moving ADC with a good amount of range. Things in particular like Jhin, if you're able to avoid his E, Jhin can really easily kite out the Urgot. So be very, the number one thing, if you just don't remember anything from this video and you just remember this one thing, really do not go into a situation where he's able to isolate you. Always be around other people. Protect each other with the ults, and really look to attack him if he overextends. A lot of Urgots are going to look for that engage with the E, and that is perfect. You want the Urgot to come into you. You do not want to move into the Urgot. You want to stay on the out. You want to stay at his max range and be able to hit him from a safe distance, because he excels in a front-to-back team fight where he effectively takes the position of a Cho'Gath that's able to do true damage to you, to finish you off, and to win the front-to-back very quickly. So the way we get around the front-to-back team fights is to see if he'll engage on the squishies and try and be a diver. This is where Urgot struggles in the late game, but he can succeed in the early and mid game. So that is how you should look to effectively go after Urgot in team fights. There's another way, if you have a bunch of divers on your team, if you have a bunch of assassins, to just target everyone else, just wipe everyone else off, and just leave the poor, lonely, crabby got all by himself. So if you guys have any questions for me with particular champions and how to approach it, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I can also answer some questions as like, hey, I'm a Lucian player. I really struggle playing against Urgot because I have short range. I don't have much percentage health damage, and yeah, I can give you a couple pointers personalized to you. Yeah, that'll wrap up the team fighting phase, and we just got one more to go. Urgot is fed what now? That will be the next one. All right, let's go into my last and favorite section. The Urgot is fed. What do I need to do now? So let's just go over one base stat that I just want to review. If you're able to extend the game at all, Urgot does struggle to close out games in the end phase. He has 13th highest win rate, 0 to 25, 5th highest win rate, 25 to 30 minutes, and then it starts really on a downward trend. 30 to 35 minutes, he's 35th. 35 to 40 minutes, he's 45th in win rate, and then 40 plus, he's 36 minutes. So if you're able to extend the game at all when you're playing against an Urgot, that is definitely going to be to your benefits. Another way to deal with Urgot when he is getting fed is to just try and avoid him in his range. And if you have any situation where you can trade a 1-for-1 for him, that would be huge. Obviously, if you're an assassin that feels like you have enough power to shoot through his shield and kill him, obviously look to do that. Next up, do not let the fed Urgot split. And if he does split, you want to counter split in the other lane if you're a top laner, and just keep trying to move him around the map, wasting his time and letting your ADC scale up. Because mostly when an Urgot gets fed, you're not going to be able to really deal with him as a tank or a juggernaut or a bruiser or a fighter. But what really happens in the late game is your ADC is able to effectively take him down from a distance. So look to extend the game. If you see an Urgot in champion select and you've just been getting murdered by Urgots all day, look to pick champions if you're in the mid lane like Anivia and Ziggs that are going to have astounding wave clear and can really prolong games. Those are my few tips for Urgot. There's obviously some pretty general ones where just building things like health, or not health, armor, because he does 80 damage, building things that have preventative things, so when you look to see an Urgot come in and you're a support player, building things like redemptions and lockets to shield those allies, to not let them get to that threshold of getting executed. That's another big thing, is to build items around him. Another thing is to build mobility items if you're a support again, or even certain mid laners. Shirelias can be a great item to nullify Urgot's kit. Any ADC worth his salt in higher elo, if you give him a large movement speed buff with the Shirelias, can kite out a Urgot to a decent degree. And yeah, those are the couple of things that I found. Most of the time, dealing with the biggest thing of dealing with the fed Urgot is just to prolong the game, and he's going to fall off a bit. He's not going to become completely useless. He's not like Lee Sin, don't get me wrong. He's not like Pantheon in the late game, but he isn't going to be able to carry as hard as he would have in the early parts of the game, like the 25 to 30, where he's the 5th highest win rate in the game, which is pretty insane. So that will wrap up my video. If you guys have any feedback or critique, I'm always looking for that kind of stuff. I know it's a little bit of a different type of concept, and I know there's probably going to be a few Urgot players that really dislike this video that I'm putting this information out. But again, I think a lot of people will get a bit out of this video. Even if you hate that I'm putting the video out, you're going to see, hey, these are a couple of points I can take into the next game that someone steals my main. If you guys enjoyed the content, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, guys, take it easy.